Think you can't do a Yule log ritual because you don't have a fireplace or fire pit? Think again. In this video, I'm sharing with you a super fun hack that allows you to experience the magic of a fragrant pine wood fire, even if you live in an apartment. And don't worry, I'm not going to tell you to bake a chocolate cake and decorate it to look like a piece of wood. Fellow pyros rejoice! This spell is going to allow you to actually enjoy the magic of the element of fire. It's that time of year when we make rituals out of leaving behind the old year and making way for the new. One such ritual you may have heard of in pagan, Christian, or even secular culture is the Yule log. Traditionally, in Old World communities, a large, in some cases absolutely massive log was burned continuously, yet gradually over the course of the entire Yuletide season. It took several people to curate and maintain, and was done publicly or in large groups. In some traditions, the very end of the log was kept as kindling for the new log that would be lit the following December, to represent the full circle completion of a prosperous year. In modern times, it's evolved into a much more accessible practice of ceremoniously burning a log that fits into your own fireplace or fire pit. But what if you don't have either of those things? Can you still participate in this enchanting practice? Yes, you can. Kind of. It's really just a matter of getting creative. If you really wanted to do a proper Yule log spell, you could make one out of a relatively small log of firewood and take it to a safe space in nature to burn, which could even be just a grill at your local park if your local park is a place that allows you to grill. Personally, I'm pretty sensitive to cold temperatures, so I prefer to be as close to home as possible for this ritual, where I can be relaxed and cozy in the process of creating the spell, and can easily take shelter if need be, and still be able to see the burning log. I did a proper Yule log spell back in 2015 when I lived in a house where I could have an enclosed fire pit on my porch using the above method. But I've lived in apartments where fire pits, and in some cases even grills, have not been allowed for the past several years now, and I have deeply missed the practice of celebrating the new year with the elements of nature. So this year, I decided to get extra crafty and came up with a version of the Yule log spell that can be done at home even if you don't have access to a yard, fireplace, or fire pit. As long as there's somewhere on or near your residence where you can get away with burning a pine cone, this New Year intention setting spell is for you. And since I'm posting this video on the Gregorian calendar New Year, I have a quick note on timing when it comes to seasonal rituals. I know in modern pagan and Muggle cultures alike, it's very common to have a lot of hype around getting everything done in time for some specific date on the calendar. Personally, I'm not one to make a huge deal about any specific date on the calendar, instead preferring to embrace the New Year energy gradually over the course of the months of December and January. Kind of like embracing the burning of a massive log throughout the entire Yuletide season. So spells like the one that we're going to be doing together in this video can be equally effective when done on any day of the Advent calendar, on the astronomical day of the winter solstice, on Christmas, on whatever day you normally celebrate Yule, on New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, 12th night, literally any day that is within what you consider to be the Yuletide season. So with that being said, I invite you to light a candle, pour yourself a mug of something cozy, and let's make some magic. Here's what you'll need. A large dry pine cone, preferably one of those fat sturdy ones. 8 good-sized, fully intact bay leaves, not that crummy stuff from the bottom of the bag. A permanent marker, optionally in a seasonal color. Any 8 small biodegradable tokens to represent your wishes for each of the 8 seasons on the witch's calendar, optional. And as with all spells in my practice, there's no need to follow these instructions or ingredients to the letter. Just use what you have on hand and do the ritual in whatever way feels most natural and magical to you. Choose a cozy location to sit down and set your intentions. If you're comfortable outdoors in the winter, or if you're someone who likes to embrace the magic of a little discomfort if it allows you to be at one with the elements, then feel free to do the entire ritual outside. I'm here for all the cozy vibes, so I chose my dining room table for the first part. Take a moment to sit and take at least 3 slow, deep breaths, consciously calming and quieting the mind. Leave any thoughts of business or stress and really begin to feel present in this magical space. Now it's time to begin the spell, and you'll do this by spelling out your intentions. See what I did there? Words are powerful. We all have ideas floating around in our minds, but there's something truly magical about writing it down and reading it back to yourself to bring it to life. This is where the bay leaves come into play. On each of the bay leaves, write the name of one of the 8 Sabbats or seasons of the Wheel of the Year. If you're not really into Sabbats, you can skip this step and move on to the next one. The next step is to write one word or short phrase of power on each of the leaves. If you chose to represent the 8 seasonal Sabbats, you may wish to match the power words with the themes you associate with that season, but this is entirely optional. If you're using a really fine point Sharpie, you can fit a lot more words on each leaf if you want to. I decided to keep it super simple and just use a fat metallic marker to write one big word on each leaf. Next, another optional step is to pair each of your bay leaves with an additional biodegradable item that to you represents the energy of that power word and/or season. Or it can just represent how you desire to feel during that season or in the year ahead in general. Now we get to decorate our Yule cone with the leaves and optional additional items. If you have a really large pine cone, you could get super crafty with this and make it look totally decked out like a Yule log, which traditionally is bundled with things like holly, ivy, pine sprigs, and branches with winter berries. I've even seen online tutorials where they turned a pine cone into a mini Yule tree to use as an ornament, and you could totally do something similar with this spell. This time I decided to keep mine fairly simple and mainly just stuck my leaves into the spines of the pine cone, arranging them in such a way that the whole thing looked almost like one big flower with spiraling petals going around it. And I just stuck my additional objects in wherever they would fit and stay stuck in the pine cone. I also decided to add 8 allspice corns to give each season an extra boost of good fortune in my spell. The final step is to go to your outdoor spot to complete the spell. Obviously, practice fire safety and do your best to be as respectful as you can to your local environment and the others within it. For areas like patios and porches, I always recommend using an enclosure or container of some kind. For this spell, I used this beautifully ornate pewter cauldron. It happens to have feet on it, which would make it ideal for sitting down on the pavement, but since there was no pavement to be seen on my patio that night, I just stuck it in my epic snow cave. Fire represents passion, action, and transformation, and it's with this element that we release our intention into the universe. Personally, I have my moon in Aries, so bringing some fire magic into my practice is always so empowering for me. So if you happen to be a fellow pyro like me, I really hope that you get to do something like this too. I must say it was incredibly satisfying. Not gonna lie, I'm sure that the housing managers would not be thrilled if they knew I was doing fire magic on my patio, but it was behind my epic snow wall during the holiday season and the greatest storm of the century, so who was gonna stop me? The nifty thing about this Yule cone spell is that it allows you to briefly engage with the element of fire without necessarily having to commit to a long or overly involved bonfire situation. You can allow the cone to smolder for up to half an hour if you want to prolong the process, or you can keep a lighter or a wooden dowel and a candle handy to keep it lit and poke around with it with a tool if need be to actively burn it away as quickly as possible. And remember, you don't have to, but it can also be fun to symbolically keep that one piece of the cone to use in other spells and/or as kindling for next year's fire. You could even save the ashes from this fire to use in spells as well. Or you can simply scatter it to the wind or onto the earth to activate it through nature. For me, doing the spell on my patio in a slightly rebellious manner was actually one of the empowering aspects of the spell itself. I've been rather dissatisfied with the way I've been treated by the management of this building in the past year, and since manifesting a new living situation that's compatible both in magical and mundane ways is one of my biggest intentions for the next chapter, I found it rather fitting that I both stuck it to the man a little bit with this spell and also evoked the energy of having immediate access to nature right outside my door as I call in that private yard of my dreams. Your intentions and motivations might be completely different to mine, so I encourage you to engage with your own energy and environment in whatever way feels most empowering and magical to you personally. I feel like the past few years have been way too serious for many of us, and in this new year, I'm feeling called to prompt myself and others to ask ourselves questions like, what really feels fun to me? What do I actually want to be spending my time doing? And that's not just what I'm pretty good at that I feel like I should be doing. For me right now, those things are storytelling, playful creativity, and focused community connection. I've discovered that my favorite parts of my work now are the storytelling aspect as well as the crafting, rituals, and decorating tutorials in my videos. Even more so now than the educational and personal development focused content that I used to be so passionate about creating in past years. I mean, those things will always be important parts of my life, practice, and expression. That's just who I am. But I am also giving myself permission to explore more of the other things that bring me joy too. That's why I've secretly been working on, or should I say playing with, some fun projects behind the scenes. For one, I've just added a new feature to the subscription box tier on my Patreon, which includes grimoire pages of my favorite spells with hand-drawn illustrations. The first of which is this little chapter on Yule log spells. It goes into a lot more detail on how to craft a more in-depth version of this type of ritual, including how to incorporate an actual log if you can, and how to turn it into a more detailed manifestation spell. And after years of only selling products, services, and memberships that were focused around journaling, manifestation, and personal development, I'm also finally giving myself permission to open the Witchy home decor / ritual tools shop that I've been dreaming about for so long. Because as it turns out, making one's home an inviting, cozy, and magical environment is just as important as doing our shadow work and manifesting the quote-unquote bigger things in life. It's what helps us get there by allowing us to change the energy of our immediate surroundings to better match the reality we're choosing to create. So introducing Hestia's Hearth Home Shop, where I create and curate witchy home goods like the things you see in my videos. I get comments all the time saying how inspiring you find all my home projects, so now I'm embracing this fun, carefree part of my magical practice with you. From now on, when I craft or go antiquing for the kinds of unique, enchanting objects that I like to use in my home and in my rituals, I'll be making and/or collecting enough to also offer to you too. And yes, the ornate pewter cauldron you saw in this video is actually for sale. I've just launched my new shop page featuring some lovely antiques and ritual tools like the ones you've seen in my videos, and most items are either one of a kind or rare things from the past that would be hard to find or replicate, and I'll also be adding a wider variety of handmade items in 2023. I hope you find something you like. And in any case, I am wishing you a magical new year in which you get to focus on the things that feel fun, expansive, and freeing to you. Have a blessed winter solstice season, and for more on how to embrace the holiday season and the new year energy to experience more fun, freedom, and flow and fulfillment in your life, I invite you to check out this video right here.